You gotta love waking up early and having a rush super quickly like this guy. While it warms up, I'm gonna grab myself a water. So this morning we're gonna go over to my buddy Roni's house. He's got an 850 wheel Evo 8, I believe, Evo 8 or Evo 9, I forgot, to be honest with you. But he's gonna do some work on the motor, and we're gonna film a little bit of the process, and obviously he'll explain it better than I can. He works for Lamborghini for a company called Dyno Racing. He's a really badass mechanic, and I can't wait to take you guys with me. This is the true key to success in life. Only problem is Roni lives like an hour away from me, and I have no E85 in the car right now. Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna be able to do an hour there, an hour back on that. So let's hit the road and get some E85. Oh man, Ronnie's gonna hate me for this, but I have to. It's literally right next to the E85 station. Yup, you guys already knew. This took way longer than it should have, but oh well. Hey, we made it. I was literally supposed to be there at like 10:30, and it's like 10:30 right now, and he lives like an hour away.
Smooth.
Sounds super corny, but every time I come and fill up E85, it always blows my mind that this car's finally on ethanol. Gotta take a little snap for the boys. Add me on Snapchat if you guys haven't already. Alright, now it's time to mob over to Ronnie's house. I know this is gonna sound super cheesy, but I'm really excited to film this video right now just because I've always wanted to be around somebody building an Evo motor, and I'm finally getting the opportunity. And I get to share with all of you guys, which is like the best part. So this is gonna be great. Like, I'm sharing something happy for me, and I hope that you guys all love this. So there was a major fire. I don't know if you guys can see that the mountain is all black, but this is all from the fire that just happened. It was literally one of the biggest fires, I think the biggest fire in LA County that ever happened. It's crazy. This canyon's called La Tunga. By the way, if you guys are wondering, if you guys watch Matt Farrow's videos or the Smoking Tire, all of his videos are filmed a lot in this canyon. Running into a couple parking issues, trying to figure out which way like my navigation's trying to take me right now. I feel like it's taking me in the wrong direction. Alright, so we're in the correct apartment complex now. It had me my navigation had me go around like to the other side, which is why when I called Roni right now, he had no idea what the hell I was talking about. I still haven't seen an open garage or anything. I'm looking for like a red Evo. I haven't seen it. Alright, so after much finagling, I finally found Roni. This is his garage. This is an Evo 8, correct?
It's an Evo 8, correct.
Yes. Evo 8. Dang, dude, look at the turbo. That's insane.
It's a little baby.
Little baby?
On the stock, basically, stock location. This is as big as I can go. If I want to go to like a 67 mil or like a 6870, I have to either do a top mount setup or a front mount.
Right.
Which is badass, but I don't like it because I don't like running it without a filter, and when you do run it with a filter, it looks kind of stupid. Yeah. So this is nice, you know. Nobody really sees anything, and then you just fucking fucking fly by them, you know. Yeah. Roni works on Lamborghinis for a living too, for a company called Dyno Racing. They do a lot of AMGs and European cars that are like 1,000 horsepower, crazy. These are a lot easier to work on. Yeah. We're gonna pull this motor today. We're gonna pull the drivetrain, transmission, transfer case. We're gonna pull everything out today. Jeez. And then we're gonna mount it on the cherry picker, and I'll tear it down, and we'll kind of like go over everything. The flywheel bolts for the Evos, there's two different part numbers, and they both, you know, get sold under Evo 8, 9. One is slightly longer. So if you run those, you would probably not even notice the difference. It'll go in all the way. You torque it down, you drive it, and your flywheel is gonna come loose. Yeah. It's gonna eat your clutch, and that's what happened in my case. And it's a very expensive one when you're talking about a $1,700 Quartermaster 8. Like, oh my god. The clutch had like 1,000 miles on it, so. That's crazy. Big hole in my pocket, but you know. So Roni was telling me that a lot of people who build Evo motors don't like to dispose of their secrets. So he wants to like debunk and show a lot of you guys what goes into building a 4G63, since no one ever records it or documents it or anything. So this should be pretty exciting. It should be exciting, and you know, we'll go over all the tools you use, micrometers, dial bore gauges. So this motor's gonna get taken apart. We're gonna look at everything. I'm gonna get the big end of the rod that did spin. I'm gonna get it resized. Have the machine shop check it. Right. crank may or may not be usable. If I have to grind it down, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna get a brand new crank.
Right.
Because if it was like a stock rebuild, I would be cool with that.
Yeah.
I don't like cutting 4G63 cranks at all because there's like a surface hardening treatment they do on it, and it goes in 20,000. So when you take off like 10,000, for instance, you're already like, it's already like hurting that treatment,
right,
so to speak. So it's just doesn't make sense. Like I'd rather spend another K, buy a brand new crank, and know I don't have to take it apart next month, you know?
Right.
So basically, it's gonna get taken apart. It's gonna get inspected. We're gonna get the rotating assembly. I'm gonna upgrade my pistons to the STM 11 5-to-1s. I have the White Psycho 10 5-to-1s right now.
Right.
Just want to bump it a little more. Gonna send the rotating assembly to balancing. When it comes back, the motor is also gonna go to the machine shop. It's gonna get torque plated. This is another thing that a lot of people don't do, even some shops. So a torque plate is basically an aluminum plate that goes on top of the block with the head gasket underneath it, with the head studs you're going to be using, and torque to spec. So basically what it does is it mimics the head being on the block.
Oh, okay.
So when you do that, the block distorts. So let's say you machine it without the torque plate and then you bolt the head on. Now your perfectly, you know, round bore is going to be egg-shaped. So if you don't use a torque plate, basically you need to use a torque plate if you're trying to throw a shitload of power at it, because then you can run a tighter piston to all clearance. Your motor's not going to smoke oil, you know, consume any excess amount of oil.
Right.
You know? It's just the right way to do it. So it's going to get honed because it's already 20 over. I'm going to get 20 over pistons again. It's just going to get honed. We're going to, you know, hone it to the piston to all clearance that we want, and then it's going to come back.
Right.
We're going to get the bearings. We're basically going to spec them out. We're going to measure, you know, the oil clearance for rods and mains. Set them where we want to set them. Set the piston ring gaps. Pretty much we'll go over everything, and I told you this too, Josh. Like whenever it comes back, we'll obviously make the continuation. So we have an AEM fuel rail, FIC 2150s, and we have two Walbro 450s, Busher double pumper, to get the fuel needs. But I think I'm kind of topped out right now. Before it spun a bearing, I should have logged my injector duty cycles and all to see what kind of fuel, you know, if I was running out of fuel or not. But I would assume at 46 pounds of boost.
Oh my god.
I'm kind of like at the edge.
46 pounds.
But I don't know, I would have to like log it. But it was good where it was, so I'll be happy with my new setup. I'll be happy around like the same boost levels. What I do want to do is, because the car is tuned on E85 on both maps. There's a low boost map and a high boost map, which doesn't really make sense. But what I do want to do, and this isn't really going to make sense either, I want to have an E85 map, which is like, you know, not like pre-kill mode. Right. Then I want to have a E90 map, Ignite Red. Ignite makes very good E90. You know, you buy it by the drum and it's like $300. It's kind of cheap. It's not that expensive. Right. I want to have an E90 map, and that should, you know, that should be like the kill mode.
This would be like super knock resistant.
Yes. At this power level, man, it's kind of risky. Like you just gotta make sure.
Oh yeah,
like,
of course.
Propel fuels, they always have. It says minimum E70.
Yeah.
And this car was tuned on E72.
Oh,
so
okay.
anytime I get E85, I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm good, you know. But
Yeah,
if you get tuned on E85, and you go to like G&M or whatever, I forgot their name. It says minimum E50.
Yeah.
Let's say you get a winter blend.
Yeah.
You fucking put that in your car.
Yeah, you blow motor. So Ronnie has 3 4G63 blocks from, and this might be out of order, but it's like a friend's car. One of them needs to be re-welded on the back or something, or where the transmission bolts up. And then he also has this one that just needs to be cleaned. Just pretty crazy. And then obviously he has the other motor that's in here. You guys heard him, I was making 850 wheel before, which is absolutely insane. Look at the size of this turbo. 40, I think he said 46 pounds of boost or something. This thing is absolutely insane. He's got Toyo R888s on there, and I like simple interiors, so.
Basically my clutch disengage, there's a switch that like obviously tells the computer that the clutch is disengaged.
Right.
So you can start the car in the mornings, right?
Right.
You unplug it and, you know, it doesn't throw a code, doesn't do anything.
Right.
You unplug it and you can just start the car without, you know, pressing your foot on the clutch. The reason we do that on these, I have a Quartermaster 8 leg. It's a, you know, it's a race clutch.
Right.
It has a lot of pressure. The pressure plate puts a lot of force on the end of the crank. So if you were to, you know, in the morning and there's no oil on the thrust bearing, if you were to like put your foot on the clutch, it puts pressure on it, and if you start it, you know, the crank starts spinning, and it's dry. So there's a lot of pressure, and it's like riding on the thrust bearing. That's why I disconnect the switch, so when I start it, I don't have to press my, you know, put my foot on the clutch.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't need the thrust bearing, the engine's happy, and I don't have to tear it down. Damn. But I do have to tear it down, you know, for different reasons. Yeah.
Kelfor 280 cams?
280s, yeah. This is called this is a Kigley HLA. Basically what this does is it limits the, let me go back to this. The 4G63 oil pump likes to dump a lot of oil in the head. Like in excess of like 40-50 pounds when you're like, you know, going like 9,000 RPM.
Oh wow.
So you put this and it limits it to 15 pounds. So the oil actually stays in the pan where it needs to be.
Right.
And still everything gets lubricated. I mean, enough that you can still run a, you know, your turbo oil feed. Your cams are happy, everything's happy. So
right.
I forgot who it was. I think Kigley's his last name. I don't remember, but anyway, this guy figured it out and he made that unit, so it limits the oil to 15 pounds.
So that's a good supporting mod for people that want to...
Yeah, I had it on my last build too. I had it on my 2.3 too. It's just like, it's one of those things. It's like I'm spending so much money, might as well spend another 150 bucks if they say it works, you know? Yeah. So I'm still on the stock intake manifold. It's not ported or anything.
That's the stock manifold, really?
That's the stock intake manifold. I have a 3.5 inch intercooler. Usually people have like a fucking 6 inch when they're, you know, going big turbo. Right. Which, honestly, like in this day and age, the 64 mil isn't even that big. To be honest with you. Yeah. But and I also have 2.5 inch piping. I don't have like custom 3 inch piping. I like the smaller you keep it. Basically, the tighter it is, the more responsive it's gonna be. Right. The spool. It's gonna spool up faster, and it's a 2.0, so I don't want to put a huge, you know, Magnus intake manifold, you know, big ass piping, put a big ass intercooler. I can do that and gain like another 40 horse, but I'd rather keep the responsiveness of the car. Right. Again, it's a 2.0 with a big ass turbo, so I want it to be as responsive as I can have it. Right. And I'm not a drag racer. I don't think this car, you know, it hasn't been on the strip. I highly doubt it's gonna go on the strip because I don't know how to launch it. I've never done it, honestly. Yeah, I've never launched an Evo. I don't want to do it because I've seen people break parts. Yeah. And it breaks my heart. Like, I don't want to fucking spend money on my transfer case when I just fucking dumped like fucking $5 grand in the motor, you know? Right, right. It's a fucking weekend car, so I want it to be as responsive as I can have it, honestly. Right. But I don't want to do a 2.3. Yeah. I get RPM limited with that. I did it on my silver one. Oh, with the stroker? That, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. I had a billet crank in that. Had a lot of torque though, right? It had a, dude, I would spin first and second. Like if I punched it at the right place, right time, it would fucking spin a little bit. That's crazy. It was fucking torquey as shit. That's. But for the people that don't know, if you powder coat your valve cover, there are baffles here. In my case, the baffles have been removed because I have a different catch guide set up than normal. Right. But there are baffles here, so if you powder coat it, there's no way you can get the bead or, you know, whatever media they use. There's no way you can get all of it out. You're gonna lose a motor. Definitely, you're gonna spin a bearing. Oh wow. So what you would have to do is you would have to drill these out, drill the rivets out, take the baffles off, wash it, and then put it back. In my case, I didn't, but put it back because, you know, you need the baffling for like the stock PCV system. Right. Also, when you do spin a bearing, you need to replace the oil cooler for 100%. There's no way you can get all the, you know, bearing material out of the oil cooler. The way it is, you just cannot do it. You have to get a new oil cooler. There's no way around it. Yeah. Also, you gotta hot tank the head. Right. You know, to make sure there's no, you know, bearing material or whatever left in it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to say it. It's kind of well known. These are kind of well known. But in case somebody does spin a bearing and nobody tells them. Right. That's a big, costly mistake. Like I said before I came here, guys, Ronnie knows way more about building motors than I do, and I want him to educate a lot of you guys and also myself in the process because he's way more experienced with engine building. I mean, if he was able to make, how many pounds of boost was this on? 46? 46 pounds. That's crazy, dude. It can handle a lot more. That's so insane though. Like, the turbo gets limited, and these motors, 4G63 motors, as we were just talking, right? It's an iron block, man. This thing doesn't really flex until, you know, it takes a shitload of horsepower. AG Auto Sports, they made 1291 at 69 pounds of boost. I think it was a 76 millimeter precision, but still on the wet block, they didn't even fill the block. Wow. And what I mean by that is the water jackets. Right. So you literally fill the motor up. You literally fill the coolant jackets up with concrete, so it doesn't flex. Okay. You can do it half filled. You can fill it halfway, and you can still run the water pump. You can just use your cooling system like you normally would. Right. You can't even street drive it. Some people, you know, get scared to do that, but you can't do that. there's just no need to unless you're trying to fucking, you know, claim the 7-second bounty.
Right.
Actually, Extreme Tuners broke it. I don't know if you know that. Extreme Tuners. I'm sure you're gonna get a bunch of comments on the fucking video about this. Extreme Tuners.
Oh, tuners.
So these guys, they have their own like turbo technology. He makes like the compressor wheels out of like carbon Kevlar or whatever.
Right.
He has like this gigantic turbo mounted on the front of the car, but the way it's just the turbo itself is not ginormous, but just the way he has the compressor. I'll show you the picture. Maybe you can put it in the video. But the way the compressor housing is, just crazy. But these guys broke the record. But for the longest time, everybody here was like, "Oh, it's not a qualified track. This, that." They did it again, and like they measured the tracker or whatever. I don't really know, but I guess that's not like the U.S. bounty.
Oh,
like
okay.
The U.S. bounty's separate, I guess.
Right.
Because it's still up for the grabs from the
So Ronnie wanted a, wait, you said a Liberty gear?
It's a Liberty gear faceplated transmission.
Okay.
Let me tell you what that means. It's basically, it uses the stock gears. They're, you know, they're helical cut gears. They're not, you know, spur cut.
Right.
But what they do is they basically cut off the clutching teeth. Where normally the synchro would push on and the slider would go on and like engage the gear. Right. They cut that off and they weld dogs on it. So it's literally like a dog box, but it doesn't whine. Oh. So it's a bitch to drive. You put it in first gear, the car fucking does this. Everybody fucking stares at you. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah. Car hops.
Car fucking hops, dude. It's weird. But you get used to it.
So I hope you guys are taking in all this information greatly, guys, because Ronnie's super good. One day I'm going to stop by his work. He wants me to go to Dime Racing so I can film some AMG Lamborghini madness for you guys. And I'm just taking this all in. This is a great experience. I wish it was still running, dude. We need to get a video when it's like actually...
Oh, we will.
Yeah, once it's...
We'll get a little dyno video going. So, advice for anybody that's trying to go for a decent power, if you take your fucking motor to, you know, a shop that you know their machine shop doesn't use a torque plate, don't take it there. Because like it's not the way to do it. You need a torque plate for these motors. Yeah. From the factory, it's not torque plated, so from the factory, it's a little out around. But when you're putting force pistons in it, I mean, it's not a good idea. It has to be torque plated. That's it. We did a fucking shocker at the top. That gives us a lot of room. Yeah.
What on earth is that thing?
So this is for like a clamp that's like underneath or whatever. Okay. And you can't put like your pliers on it. Right. This will save your life. Okay. A lot of cuss words from coming out of your mouth. So this is like one of my favorite tools. This and my Snap-on 3/8 cordless impact. That thing's fucking badass. Screws inside here. Okay. When you screw it down, it presses on the hydraulic tensioner. It pushes the arm back, and then it releases the tension of the belt. So that way, when you fucking, you know, take the cam gear off or whatever, it doesn't just fucking snap down. You usually do this for, you know, if you're trying to do this and not like touch the timing, you would bring the motor to TDC, you would line up the timing marks to the valve cover, and you would do whatever you would need to do. You know, take the cam gears off, replace cams or whatever. Yeah. I'm just trying to do it right now because I don't want it to like snap down. Right. The motor's gonna come out anyway. We care about timing. Don't do this, by the way. Okay. Better if I do it with this so I can get a feel. I hate being a hypocrite like that, though. Do not do this, and then I'm fucking done. You're doing it? Yeah. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, since I didn't bring my fucking Snap-on 13mm that wraps around this fucking nut perfectly, I have to take the head off, you know, because I can't get the exhaust manifold out, and if I'm pulling the motor, this is gonna be a bitch. So I'd rather just pull the head off. You don't have to do this, you can pull it without doing this, but so I'm gonna pull the cam gears off so I can, you know, take everything off from the back of the intake manifold, make sure nothing's attached to the turbo kit. Right. You know, unbolt the head studs and pull it off.
And it seems like it's purposeful. So again, this is probably a lot of information for you guys. I hope you guys, if you have Evos or whatever thing, that you guys take Roni up on all this knowledge. Roni is seriously super good at what he does, and I think it kind of shows in the videos. And he builds Evo motor. Well, he used to build Evo motors on the side for people, but he's kind of slowing down because of work. But if I were to for whatever reason ever come up on a like crazy 8 or 9 of the spun bearing or something, the first place I would take it to is definitely right here. And we would definitely do a little build series on it. Which, to be completely honest, it kind of just depends on you guys, you know, like how much support you show the videos and when my website's up and everything. But if you guys show a ton of support, obviously I'm gonna work hard and give you guys more content and return it back to you guys. Because it's not really so much about like me trying to get a bunch of things and show off with the camera or whatever. It's more of just like documenting really cool builds and things like this. Like this stuff right here, even though it might seem kind of boring to you guys or like a little different or educational, this is like the most fun thing because you guys are seeing something that's all messed up right now, but you guys are going to see when it's up and running, and it's going to be super awesome when it's like all fixed up. I didn't get this before, but Roni's boost gauge right here literally goes all the way up to 60 psi. That's crazy. 60 pounds of boost. Just so you guys know, if you guys don't know what that means, my car only makes 23 pounds of boost and made 350 wheels, so that's roughly 400 to the crank. That's 60 pounds of boost. This right now it's making, well, before the motor went, it was making 850 wheel at 46 pounds, which is absolutely insane. I just love the simplicity of the Evo 8 though. I mean, this car was like a full drag strip race car basically, as Roni was saying it, before he bought it from the previous owner. And it still kept full interior and wasn't gutted or anything. Like, it still looks nice and wasn't a bucket. Smash that thumbs up button if you guys want to see some 1,000 horsepower Evo pulls very, very soon. Super jealous too that Roni has all these VP jugs. I need this because lately E85 pumps have been going on sale by my house for like $1 a gallon. And if I had some of these, I could fill up, getting a super awesome deal with that ethanol sale and not have to make a trip back and forth to get E85. First world problems, right? First world. Here's the front bumper for the Evo 2 if you guys are wondering. It looks really nice with the, I forgot what these little side things are called, but it looks super nice. And I didn't notice that Roni's hood was carbon fiber. It's actually super light. And he was telling me that actually the carbon fiber hood is about like the same weight as the normal hood, which is pretty crazy because I know a lot of pieces on Evos, I don't know what the difference are between like 8, 9, 10, but a lot of them are aluminum, so it's really, really light material. And it's just a race car. That's all it is. It's just a race car.
So when you're loosening the head, you want to go by the torque sequence, but you obviously start from the last bolt. So I'm gonna start 10, 9, 8, 7, yada yada, and I'm gonna do a few stages because the 625s get torqued down quite a bit. So you obviously don't want to loosen one, and you don't want to basically like slant the head.
Right.
You want to do it in stages. That's what we did.
So we just pulled the head off right now. Roni's taking off the cams, I believe, right?
Yeah, so the way we did it wasn't ideal. I wanted to get the exhaust manifold off, so I had room to pull it out. That's how I've always done it. That way I don't have to fight a lot of, you know, I don't have to like damage anything on the way, the condenser or whatever.
Right.
Now that we have it off, with the intake manifold and exhaust manifold, I want to lay it here, but we got to take the cams off first, because the cams are always going to have a little bit of pressure on the springs, and they're going to open the valves a little bit. So if you actually, you can see some of the valves are hung open just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cams off, so the valves go back to where they need to be, and the head is actually flat, so I don't have to bend any valves just putting it down. So you can see that from the previous builder, this only has 2,000 miles on it. So you can see there's still a bunch of cross hatching left. If you focus over there, you can see the cross hatch pattern. Yeah, it's not glazed because obviously, you know, there isn't a lot of miles on it, and the piston to wall clearance was set properly. So we're not seeing any glazing, we're not seeing any scuffing, excessive scuffing or anything like that. So what the cross hatch is engine block gets bored, they take a bunch of material off, but the last like 3-4 thousandths of material, they hone it. So they cut it with a different tool.
Right.
And the honing stone actually leaves this crosshatch pattern. It's done by the honing stone. It has to get honed. And then when you install new piston rings, the crosshatch pattern actually helps the ring seat. That's what actually makes the ring seat. So if it's glazed, you can't just like take the engine out. Like right now, I have to get it honed again and put it back in, because even though it has a lot of crosshatch on it, you want a fresh crosshatch so it can seat the rings. That's
also, there's two ways to break in a motor, with a break-in mileage period and several oil changes, or people that just, you know, do a break-in period in the dyno. And Ronnie knows a lot more about vacuum and seating rings than I do. And I kind of wanted him to explain that a little bit to people that had the idea. Like some people like really cringe, you know, when people break in a motor on the dyno.
Yeah, so it's, you know, everybody's gonna have their own different opinion. Some shops are gonna tell you to break it in for 1,000 miles.
Right.
Some shops, Busher, you know, a lot of famous shops, they'll just put it on the dyno and break it in on the dyno. If something's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong when you turn the key. I mean, if your clearances are set properly and nothing changes in that 1,000 miles, that's an old big block mentality that you have to, you know, seat the rings for 1,000 miles. As soon as you put some boost behind the rings, it's gonna seat the rings. Putting boost on top of it, and then when you let off the throttle, it's building vacuum. What I'll do is I'll start with break-in oil, which is 30 weight oil, just conventional 30 weight.
Right.
I use bat pen because there's a lot of zinc in it. It's a good protective. It has like a good protective film. I'll bring it up to 2,500 RPM. And I'll hold it there for like a minute. The reason I do that is for the rods to sling oil on the actual cylinder walls. And then I'll start like varying the RPMs to like 3 grand, and I'll let it idle, 3 grand, let it idle. I'll do that for like 5 minutes. I'll drain the oil. I like to do this twice. I put break-in oil again, and I do the same thing again, just because I want to get all the crap out.
Right.
It's just my superstition. And then you put 2050, in my case 2050, and you just street tune it or put it on the dyno. You just it's broken in already.
Yeah, call it a day.
As soon as you turn the key, man, the engine's broken in. So this is gonna go to the machine shop, even though it's a refresh in the head. I'm still gonna take it to my machine shop. They're gonna, you know, take like 1,000 off. Just to, you know, they're just gonna deck it so it's a fresh new surface for the head gasket to seal. And also, you know, depending on if it needs it or not, there's valve guides that usually leak. But I don't know if the previous builder, the previous owner, replaced the guides. So, you know, it's gonna go to the machine shop, and my machinist is gonna check that and tell me if it needs guides or.
Okay, so right now I have Ronnie take out the front axle. I don't know where it's at. Oh, it's right here. And then I don't know what he did with the block. If he put, that kid was running, what the hell? Ronnie's like a master at dropping the T-case or opening up the T-case. I know it's something that people don't like to do on Evos, so maybe he could better explain on how to do it easier. Alright, so we pulled the second axle here. Ronnie wanted to show, you said the shaft is right there?
So there's an input shaft that protrudes through the transmission, and it goes inside the transfer case. So in order for you to be able to pull the transfer case off, you need to take that input shaft out. And the way you do it is with a slide hammer. So what you need is a M8 by a 1.25. I bought this from Harbor Freight. I kind of had to like open these prongs, and then this is just a regular bolt from Home Depot. So what you would do is, now that it's in, you have to use your knee, put this in, and usually one good slide, 2 slides should do it, and the
what?
shaft comes out.
Dang. So Ronnie's a pro, guys. He makes the
Unfortunately, I've done this a few times.
the really difficult Evo stuff, he makes it look easy.
No, honestly, this is like a cheap tool. You're gonna need this. Or else, like, I mean, you could probably put like a flathead on this or something, but it's really easy to just get a, you know, it's like a $20 slide hammer, and I'm sure you can use it for other things too. I've only used this for Evos. Is we wanted to obviously get the cherry picker and pull the motor up top, but we need my grandpa's SUV for that, and is in Upland today. So in the meanwhile, what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna drop the oil pan. Since the head's already off, we're gonna take the rod bolts off, pop the caps off, and take the rods out from basically the top of the motor.
Downpipe off?
Yes, I'm gonna take the downpipe off.
Alright, so you put the gas can under, and Ronnie's using the little...
This is like the most complex thing you will see today. So we're using the gas can and the floor to counter hold the rack. I don't even know what I'm saying. Just witness this. Look at that. Look at that. There, that's it. Downpipe is off.
Okay.
So I was explaining to Josh that I wanted to get a CDI box for the car. I guess the best way I can explain it is in higher RPMs, it doesn't run out of spark, where this will. And this one doesn't have as much spark energy as a CDI will. So basically it has a capacitor inside that like holds the current charge, so to speak, whereas in that runs out of current at higher RPM. So it's gonna help, and I can run a bigger gap. Right now I was running a 16,000 spark plug gap, which is very small. But and you know, the bigger the gap is, the better it idles, the healthier it is. Even it pulls even harder. So
okay.
It's just good to be able to run as big of a gap as you can. Obviously, if you go too big, and the way you find that out is like, let's say you go from 20,000 to 21,000 gap, and you get on it, and the car starts like breaking up.
Yeah, break up. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was gonna ask. Yeah. That's probably what.
So I had that issue. I couldn't go anything lower than 16. And weather change would I would have to like pull in, like drop it, or like, you know, it's just annoying. I'd rather not deal with that and just like get like a Busher CDI box or something.
Oh. Oil pan's out.
Oil pan's out.
So the oil pan looks really clean. Ronnie thinks that he might be able to reuse his crank because it spun a bearing, but he caught the issue really quickly.
I'm gonna have to mic it and go. I don't know if it's gonna be usable. We would have to see when we take it out. Mic it, see if it's out around. Obviously it has to get micro polished at the very least.
Alright, so underneath the Evo right now, looking at the rods, looks super clean. For conventional oil, Brad Penn works really well. He's not running synthetic, but he said in the future he's going to use a synthetic. And in case you guys are wondering, it's 2050 weight, which is super heavy, thick oil.
The rod cap's off of a doweled rod. You loosen the bolts, but you leave a few threads on. So now what I do is I just put this and that's it.
Oh.
Now I can take these bolts off now, and I can push the rod out from the top.
That was pretty simple. Yeah. What you're telling me about the pliers idea?
Yeah, you can feel it. But that's not the one that's spun.
Alright, so if you look in the block, there's no more rods or pistons. Pulled everything out. And Ronnie found out that he spun a main bearing and not a rod bearing.
Yeah, the rod bearings are pretty beat up, but none of them spun in the housing. So the noise I was hearing was not a rod knock. So unfortunately right now we can't do anything because I need the motor to be out in order to pull the crank out.
And we don't have a cherry picker.
We don't have a cherry picker, so unfortunately this is where we stop for today.
Yeah.
But next week we'll get that out. I'll have some parts ordered by next week, and
continue the build.
Continue the build,
yeah. It's gonna be fun, and then it'll be fun once it's finally up and running, and people will be able to see where it came from.
The reason, like if it's spun, so you see the bearing has its imprint
right
on the rod big end. So you see where over here it says, standard, yada yada yada. This actually makes the imprint over there. So if this thing spun, it would wipe that.
Oh.
So, and I mean, you can just tell. I mean, look, the bearings aren't.
Yeah,
they're not good. I mean, it went through the first layer of bearing material,
right?
But this isn't spun, so you have to dig in a little further. But most likely, it's gonna get a new crank, because if it's scored too bad, I'm not gonna cut it down. We'll see. But at the very least, obviously new bearings, new piston rings if I do use those same pistons, and new rod bolts. So these are the oil squirters out of one of my older builds from my other Evo. So this basically goes on the bottom of the piston and squirts oil through the main galley. It gets fed with oil, and then it squirts this on the bottom of the piston skirt. So they do this because they want to it cools the cools the piston. So from the factory, it has that. It squirts on the bottom of the factory piston. So what the previous builder did on this is he removed the oil squirters, and also I was just checking the bearings. He's using standard ACL bearings, standard size. So I'm willing to bet that the crank is cut. I haven't even looked at it well, but I have to mic it and see what it is, because if it's not, then there was an extremely tight oil clearance, because oil pressure goes up when you block these, and obviously if you're using standard size bearings with an uncut crank. So a lot of questions to be answered. 1,500.
1,500?
No, this is just some Eagle edge beams, the crappiest rod you can fucking buy, Chinese rods. And then these are some made in USA, beautiful billet I-beams.
Bay or Bay? You tell me. You know, it's kind of funny because I really put Evos in the back burner in my mind, and coming back here definitely reminded me of why I love this car so much yet again. It's only a matter of time, guys. It's only a matter of time. The countdown begins.
So we're taking this off and we're gonna send these to coating. This has a spring inside. You can order a different spring depending on how much you vacuum your engine pulls. So that's kind of a critical thing. Every time you do a build, you're ordering one of these style blow-off valves, you want to make sure you get the right spring for your vacuum level. Because if the engine has big cams and it doesn't pull a lot of vacuum, you're gonna want a lighter spring so it lets off the boost. Or else you'll hear that compressor, it's not compressor surge, but you'll hear that compressor flutter, and that's not good for the turbo, because what happens is the air whooshes back
and it's spinning.
It's spinning and it goes back through the blades out, so it's not good for the turbo.
All right, so if you guys with Evos want to hit up Roni for engine building, you guys know how knowledgeable he is now. You guys can hit him up on Instagram. I'll post in the description below. You guys can check him out. This is gonna be it for today's segment of 4G63 building.
Time to sleep.
Yeah. All right, thanks again for the pizza, dude. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, leaving Roni's now. Hope you guys enjoyed that little segment of engine building. Roni is so good with the 4G63 platform. I can't even, saying he's good, and I don't know, it doesn't do justice for how knowledgeable he is, and I think that really shows in camera. One thing I've learned about being involved with cars and going to other shops and meeting people that have different builds, there's the kind of people that will BS you and talk about, they act like they know what they're talking about, and there's people like Roni who are super authentic, have just done it a million times and really know what they're talking about. And I, for one, don't know a whole lot about engine building to the degree that he has. I just know the basic stuff, but learning stuff with Roni was really, really informative and awesome, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Now it's time to start the long journey back home. Actually using that Subaru navigation. I'm so glad heading home right now that there was zero traffic on that whole long drive right now. Got home in 30 minutes and I drove 40 miles. Alright, so I made it back home. Like I said, Roni works for this company called Dyno Racing. They do 1,000 horsepower AMGs, Lamborghinis, all this stuff. If you check it out on Instagram, you'll guys see some of his work. He installs turbo kits for Huracans, all sorts of crazy stuff, and I highly suggest you check him out because he does some amazing work. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier in the video, but this is also not going to be the first video you're going to see of Roni, because we're going to do an engine building series with him. Obviously, he has to take some of the parts that he pulled out today, like his internals. He's got to get the crank out. Obviously, he's going to get the cherry picker throughout the week to pull the motor out, and unfortunately we couldn't pull the block out without the cherry picker, but he's going to pull all that stuff out and he's going to send it off to the machine shop, and he's also going to get some other parts in. So once he collects all of his stuff back from machining and when he gets his parts in is when we're going to do the second version, or second section I should say, of the video build. And I'm really stoked to bring you this kind of video. This is the first kind of series I've ever started ever before. I've never showed anyone pulling a motor, building a motor, anything like that, and I don't know any other friends that know more about balancing, putting in new internals, building a motor, etc., more than Roni by far, because he definitely does it for a living, and I don't think there could be any other person better to explain it than he can. And I'm glad that he talked to a lot of you guys more today than I did, because he's just so knowledgeable, and I was literally learning with all of you guys. So if you guys picked up a thing or two you didn't know before watching this video, I definitely learned along the way. But unfortunately guys, this was the end of today's vlog. I've been running on minimal sleep and I've been trying to juggle everything with school and home life, girlfriend, new truck, you know, obviously editing all these videos for you guys and all that stuff, and I'm pretty tired. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button. It really helps share the video. It means a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys aren't already, please subscribe to the channel because there's a lot more videos coming your guys' way. You guys have no idea, and you guys just have to stick around and stay tuned to all the things that are coming out. I have a lot more plans for all of you guys, a lot of exciting stuff to share with you guys, and I hope that you guys come along for the ride. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.